babies, welcome into this channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's go ahead and jump into this blackout reading. Of course, this blackout message comes with a dream, and y'all, this was one hell of a dream. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Bear with me as I recall the details, okay, that go along with this dream. And we're going to ask our angels and ancestors and the Most High to give us any other tips or any other clues or any other messages that want to come through or need to come through at this time. All right, so let's go ahead and let's tap in. Hope y'all, once again, I hope you guys are doing absolutely great on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Okay, let's jump into this thing. So y'all, with this dream, it kind of hopped around a little bit. So I'm just going to tell you guys about the main part of the dream. I feel like, okay. So maybe the fact that someone is, because in the first part of the dream, I was getting my hair done for some sort of event. So maybe some of one here that could be resonating with this read, you could be getting your hair done for this particular event, okay? Or you are a beautician with 3 children, 3 little girls in particular, and a husband, okay? Or maybe those are just some people that are significant to this energy. The other thing that stuck out, I guess we'll just kind of call out the things that stuck out in this dream as we go. It's like I said, it started off with me at the beauty salon trying to get my hair done. So I was getting my hair done. When I got there, there were some other people there first. So I waited for them to finish. I was like one of the last ones to get my hair done because the beauty salon was getting ready to close up. And I was just a walk-in. I didn't have an appointment, okay? So getting my hair done, and after I finished getting my hair done, the dream switched over to me being at a funeral service. Okay. Now, as I'm entering this funeral service, I'm holding a little girl's hand, which I believe in the dream was my niece. Okay. She was my niece in my dream, and she was walking with me, and she had an arrangement or a bouquet of balloons with her. So we go in, and the first thing I noticed in this funeral service was the seating. I was like, wow, okay, why is the family sitting at the back of the service, at the back of this, I don't want to call it a church. We're just going to call it like a memorial space. Hold on, y'all, I have a customer. Okay, y'all, sorry about that. Okay. Someone could be going through a breakup. That could be significant, or some type of separation. All right. My customer just explained to me that they are going through a breakup. All right. They're hoping to get things back on the same page, but one party has a lot of baggage, and so they're not sure if, and a poor choice in friends. So all of this could be significant. It could all be relevant to the energy for this reading. Okay. All right, so now back to the dream. So yes, at the hair salon, got my hair done, left there, entered a funeral. The family was seated at the back of the funeral. I was trying to figure out, like, why is the family in the back of the funeral? And so as I brought that to their attention, like, y'all are supposed to be on the front row in the beginning, in the front of the building. And they then moved to the front of the building. Okay. Now, after that happened, this is what is very, very strange for me. This is what I'm like, what the heck? So in this dream, y'all, the person that was deceased was my uncle. And my uncle, this particular uncle, is actually deceased in real life, okay, in real time for me. He passed years ago. Now, the deceased person could be someone's uncle, okay, that could be significant. But anyway, this person was laying on the floor in the front of this hall. I'll call it a hall. I don't want to call it a church because maybe it was just like the funeral home. Okay, that's what we'll say, the funeral home. Okay, so the deceased was laying on the ground in the front of the funeral home, wrapped in some form of pink plastic. Okay. Now, it was strange because I was like, where's the coffin? Like, where, it just was very informal. And so I kind of got the idea, like, okay, well, maybe he didn't have insurance. Maybe the family did the best they could. So maybe they just wrapped him in what they had and they're having his service. Or maybe this is what he asked for. All of these things crossed my mind as I was sitting at this service for my quote unquote uncle. Okay. So I was sitting there watching this service, and the little girl that I told you I entered the service with, my niece that was holding the balloons, she ended up going over to, like, she got up from where we were seated and she walked to the front of the funeral service during the service. And she went and laid next to my uncle. And as she laid there next to him, everybody was like, no, get her away, pull her back. And the little girl, as we begin to pull her away from my uncle, she's like gotten tied up with my uncle, like with the balloon strings from the bouquet of balloons that she had carried into the service. The strings had gotten all tied up. So as they're trying to pull her away from my deceased uncle that was laying on the ground of this funeral service, they're also trying to untangle the balloon strings that she's gotten all tangled up in with him as she laid next to him. Now, this is where it got even more strange, is because, well, so in my mind, the first strange thing, well, it's strange all the way around. But one, like I said, him being laid on the ground instead of in a casket, him being wrapped in plastic, and it was pink in color, him getting tangled up in balloons that, like, why would you bring balloons to a funeral service? All of these things were just weird. Okay. Now, the next weird thing that happened is the plastic that was covering my uncle's head and face, the little girl, she pulled off. And as she pulled it off of my deceased uncle, everyone began to like gasp. Like, oh my God, oh Lord. My aunt was like, oh Lord, help me. Oh my goodness. Like, just everybody was like, oh, have mercy, Jesus. Like, help us, Lord. Like, everybody just was calling on God, okay? And I was like, oh my God, like, oh my God, like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, no, leave it alone, leave it alone. Well, when not my little girl, but when this little girl did this, when she uncovered the plastic off of my uncle's deceased body, my uncle began to breathe and he began to move. And have y'all ever heard or seen on the news or heard tell of these bodies reaching the morgue, but they're not really dead, but they've been claimed or pronounced dead, and they get to the morgue, and just before they're being embalmed or, things like that, they come back alive. And then, like, they're having to call and tell the family, like, I'm sorry, it was a, mispronunciation, however you want to say it. It was called wrong. This person wasn't actually dead. They're still alive. They're still breathing. There's still a pulse. It's faint, but it's there. Well, in this case, it was something like that, except, like I said, he was already at the funeral and he began to breathe and move. And as he breathed and moved, the plastic began to come off of his body. So by then, I'm spooked. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, like, there's no way, like, something's wrong. And it straight up gave Pet Cemetery energy, because in Pet Cemetery, they tried to bring a dead body back to life. So it gave that vibe. I'm like, how is it possible that this dead person, my uncle in my dream, how is it that he's coming back to life, right? And so, like I said, by then I'm spooked. The family is just like, oh my God. Well, as my uncle gets up off the ground, he begins to walk around, but it's more like he's zombified, like he's like a zombie. He's not himself. He's not himself. He's not himself. Though he looked like himself, because I even looked at him like, dang, he looked more youthful than he did when he actually died in real life. I feel like I need to say trigger warning, because I don't know, not everybody needs to listen to this message. Okay? Because I don't know. But I'm just going to tell y'all what happened. Okay? Hold on, you guys. Goodness. Okay, sorry about the distractions, y'all. So anyway, yes. So he, like I said, he looked. OMG, hold on. Okay, guys. So, um, yeah, like I was saying, he looks more youthful than he did when he actually passed. And so he came towards me and he wanted to hug me, and I just kind of like, and he had a smile on his face, and it was weird though, like I said, because I knew it wasn't him. It was him physically, but it wasn't him in his meat suit. Okay. So everybody began to run out of the funeral service because they knew as well that it wasn't him. They were like, nah, it ain't right. So all of us began to like run out of the funeral home, including myself, the little girl, everybody. We got the hell out of there. Now, me and three other people in particular, I guess these were family members. I feel like their identity wasn't very significant because I don't remember who they were, but I know their actions were significant. So, me and three other of my family members, we actually ran out of the funeral home and we ran to another part of the funeral home that was detached from the funeral home. Um, and it had like three doors on it. So we each entered um, a door, okay? And as we entered the doors, we locked them behind us. But when we turned around, my uncle was in there. But he was in there and he was in a bucket of water. It was crazy because it was like not his whole body was in the bucket of water, but his head was in the bucket of water. Now, as his head was in this bucket of water, I just began to speak to him. And I was like, look, I cast you out. I told him he was a demon. I was like, you don't have no place here. Go back to where you came from. Stop trying to attack us. Like, leave us alone. And as I said this, like his head began to submerge deeper into the water. Now, I thought that we had like performed some type of, I don't know, exorcism or something on him, like, but it didn't work. It did not work because then he like came back again and he was still like zombified and he was like coming after us. And as he did, like all of a sudden his whole body showed up, y'all. Y'all know this was a dream because it was like a lot of weird stuff going on. But his whole body like showed itself to me. So as his whole body showed itself to me, he ended up in some type of device where his head was extremely, he was like locked down by his head. There was something around his neck. Okay. It wasn't a noose. It wasn't anything like that. It was like some type of device that you would see in medieval times, confirmation, when so this could be something that happened in another lifetime. I don't know. But anyway, it was like a device that you would see, like I think it's called a guillotine, before someone's head is going to be chopped off, right? They're placed into this thing where they can't move their head. Well, his head was in something like that, and he was standing up in front of me and these other people that I was with. And it's like one of us had this wise idea, like get the sage and, blow the sage in his face. I guess we were trying to like cleanse him, right? So we get the sage and we light the sage up and we're blowing this sage in his face and we're trying to like cleanse the demon out of him, okay? Or this energy, this demonic energy that was in him that had, brought him back to life. So we're blowing the sage all over him. And the next thing you know, it was weird because he wouldn't die. Like he wouldn't go back to the version of himself that was unalive. So by then we had given up. We're like, okay, we tried everything we could to rid ourselves of this person who's supposed to be deceased, who's supposed to be our uncle. So now let's just give in. Like, let's just let it live. Okay. But I can't remember exactly what we did next, that all of a sudden I saw a platter with a fish on it and it had lemons cut up around it. And it was just a perfect fish just on a platter. it was almost as if it was a sacrifice to someone. And as we saw this sacrifice, we also saw my uncle. But when we saw my uncle again, seated next to the sacrifice, we seen him in a form where he was made new. He wasn't old. He wasn't unalive. He wasn't demonized. He wasn't zombified. He wasn't any of that. He was just back to his normal self. And that was the end of the dream. So I did a reading last night or this morning. I can't remember which one. If it's the short and sweet, it was last night. If it's a sidebar LOL, it was this morning. But in the dream, it was a sidebar LOL. So it was this morning when I was saying that I didn't really understand the dream, except when I saw the regeneration card, I pointed at it and I was saying maybe it has something to do with regeneration. So something that you once thought was dead is not. And that's exactly how it went in the dream. We thought my uncle was unalive. Come to find out he was alive. Now, I don't know. So that's what I have for the dream. I'm going to pull some cards real quick just to see 1622, just to see what else sticks out or what else God is trying to say. Okay, so the World card is here and the Two of Cups. So there's a new cycle here. And maybe this is just talking about a cycle of life. Maybe there's judgment energy in the background. If you can hear the sirens. Confirmation, spiritual belch, excuse me. So there's a new cycle here. The Magician card on the bottom of the deck, but I'm going to keep pulling because I'm going to pull about 6 cards, okay? So the World card, the Two of Cups, and the Page of Swords. There's a regeneration here. A regeneration of life. You could be getting ready to learn something new. Like now I'm getting like, okay, my left hand is itching. You could be getting a vibe where you're going to learn how to cast demons out in a new way. Okay? For someone, you're going to learn how to perform exorcisms on people. I don't know, you guys. I'm just guessing. The Seven of Pentacles is here. The Three of Pentacles. That's the Ten of Pentacles. So for somebody here, you're going to be working together with 2 or 3 other people to regenerate life or restore life into people. Maybe these are people whose shadow has overtaken them, or they've been spiritually overthrown by toxic energies or entities. It's like you're going to be able to restore these people back to life. One more card. The Ten of Swords. Whew. An air sign is highly significant. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. A Virgo is highly significant to this story. Prepare to learn a new ability that you have. And maybe this is just what this is. Maybe they've just showed me that you have a new ability, a new way of being able to cleanse people or cleanse their energy. At the bottom of the deck, the Four of Swords. So yeah, this has to do with some type of healing that you can do from a distance from someone. You have the ability to cleanse out maybe something or someone who's tormenting them. Y'all, I'm going to have to leave this dream up to your guys' interpretation. But like I said, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, very significant to this read. Okay? Or this is something that you do on an unconscious, subconscious level. Y'all, I have no idea. But this has been the read. This was the dream. And this was me being obedient and bringing it and sharing it to y'all, even though it was weird as hell, okay? But I hope you guys enjoyed it, my loves. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.